If you're a driven, active person who wants to reach and pursue a higher quality life with some ambition, then guess what? This podcast is for you. This is the Driven Athlete Podcast. What's up, y'all? It's me and Dr. Kyle. Welcome back to the Driven Athlete Podcast. We got the legend here, Blake Bayhnam, with us, joining us. I know you're busy dudes. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely.
So Blake is the owner of the Fountain, and also HEW West Palm Beach gym, right?
Yep.
Tell people where the Fountain's located and what the Fountain's about.
Yeah, so the Fountain's over on the corner of Okeechobee and 95, right in the not Village Commons. What is it? Palm Beach Marketplace. I was getting the Gym Plaza confused. Right there behind Starbucks, all that good stuff. Fountain is all about anti-aging regenerative medicine. We're really turning the focus more on the medical side. Got a lot of cool things coming down the pipeline, which we'll get into. But our primary focuses are preventative imaging, our regenerative medicine. So can't say stem cell, but orthobiologics, exosomes. That's the appropriate term. Orthobiologics, exosomes, all that good stuff. And then hormone therapy, medical weight loss. We do IVs, we do aesthetics, but those are kind of just ancillary to our main offerings, which I just mentioned.
Yeah, gotcha. And then how soon after you opened HEW West Palm did you guys open up the Fountain?
Probably too soon.
It's a lot to tackle.
Yeah, it's been a lot going on. So we opened HEW West Palm Beach right after COVID. So it was February of 21. Timing was kind of great. People were ready to get out of their houses. They're tired. Everybody bought the home workout gyms and they were over it. So we had a nice flood to open up.
Need some human interaction and some group.
Yeah, exactly. People
stuff.
love the group environment. And it's not for everybody, but the people that have trouble with getting to the gym on a regular basis or that accountability, like the group fitness is great because not only from the coaches, but then from your, friends you make at the gym. If you have friends that join you, other clients, they're like, hey, Blake, where you been? I haven't seen you in a week. You're like, all right, I got to.
I literally had a patient this morning. We were talking about that. Like they go to just like a standard like Globo gym, they do the weight stuff or whatever. And they're like, you have like the regulars that you see in there. You're not friends.
Yeah.
You don't talk. You don't know their name, but you see each other all the time. You just like give a quick glance, and then if you're not there, they're going to know. And it's like an accountability,
even
like
that,
an unwritten, unspoken kind of thing. I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Even that.
So amplify that with a group setting,
Yeah, because people get close. It's anywhere from 10 to 20 people per class usually. And so you get to know, kind of those same regular people in your class. So it's we do question of the day. So we force people to get to know each other and kind of, because it builds that community but it does build in the accountability as well, which we like.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I remember seeing y'all like opening up, doing the parking lot workouts, building the space out, and then gradually getting a lot of more awareness, That's a grind.
It is a grind. The outdoor boot camps are really cool. We did that for our first location as well. It just is a great way when we're out in the parking lot right next to Village Boulevard, there's a ton of traffic right there. So you're constantly, people are constantly seeing us early morning, late afternoon. We do 4 classes a day working out. And it's a great way for people to come in, they get some free workouts. And then by the time we open, we have a nice membership base, which is really cool. So it works for the clients. They get some free time, works for us. We open with a solid membership base and kind of go from there.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of carryover, right?
Yeah.
Fitness, wellness, gym, exercise, and then layer in with the Fountain and the offerings y'all do there. What was the motivation for you guys to be like, what we should do? Let's get the Fountain going.
Yeah. So with our last gym, we kind of branched off our next business after the first gym was like, just completely sidestepped anything we were doing. We did a tropical smoothie. We did recovery, treatment for addiction. And while the industries were very cool, we were very passionate about helping people and being successful. It wasn't necessarily in line with what we were already doing. So it was kind of a quantum shift. It was like, going from health and wellness to food service, it's like just big leap. So this time, we had some struggles, admittedly. Like it was definitely a huge learning curve, lost passion in both industries because it wasn't really in the vein of what we were passionate about. So this time, I've been an HRT client for 7 years or patient for 7 years now. And it was really about like, what's the next thing we can do that falls really in line with what we're already doing. So there'll be some carryover, right? There'll be some cross collaboration and opportunity between the two businesses, but also something that just kind of continues down our vein of passion, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And that was health and wellness.
That makes sense. Yeah, totally. And it's a great alignment, and if it's like if you're not super passionate or enjoy and nerds about what you do, it's only going to wean out the enthusiasm. You know what I mean?
It does, because it's a grind. I mean, you've started your own practice, and if you weren't passionate about it, like there's even being passionate about it, there's plenty of times where you're like, man, am I doing the right thing? Like this is hard. This is really, really hard. Totally. And I'm really stressed out. It's taken away from my family. It's taken away from, like my personal like time doesn't exist other than a few workouts a week. It's raising kids, working the businesses, and working out a few times.
Sneaking in a workout. Yeah,
exactly.
Like 45 minutes. Let's get out.
Let's do it. Anything we can do at this point.
Exactly. I know exactly what we're talking about.
So being passionate about it, allows you to push through those tough spots and those rough patches and get to a point where, the goal is to not be there 24/7 and to have a business that kind of runs itself, or you can oversee and
have the good team members in place. Yeah. No, totally. And I think it's a good link between entrepreneurship, getting after things professionally, growing professionally, and then also and time management, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the delayed gratification that comes with that, which I know is that's the key, for growing a business, but also the same kind of alignment with like shifting wellness and health and fitness and the changes that a person will see, it's not going to happen in like a week or 2 workouts.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what? I ate salad today, so therefore where's my 6-pack? And it's like, dude, the one meal isn't going to get you jacked or like shredded. And then like one workout's not going to get you jacked or shredded, and one meal is not going to make you fat either, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, the links and the carryover, but the symmetry between like delayed gratification and then putting some work in without seeing results long enough until you do, and that's when it like really feels really good,
And that theme carries over, I think, in all areas of life. Right?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Like, I talk about it all the time. Excuse me, with our gym clients. I talk about it with fountain clients that are starting a medical weight loss or HRT program or some health and wellness program. It's like compliance and consistency over a long period of time is what gets you results. It's not going to the gym and crushing a workout 7 days a week. It's like 4 to 5 days a week doing something, right? And being consistent. And you're going to have days that suck and you're like, wow, that was a terrible workout, but it was something.
Right.
Is what kind of gets you in that place where it's sustainable and you can do it long term. Yeah.
I spoke recently with a patient that is a D1 football player. He has an interesting story and a lot of setbacks, and eventually did well enough and was healthy enough and durable enough to then get like a scholarship. It was awesome. Huge high five moment. And I was talking to some other kids or like other student athletes recently too. And I was like trying to get his opinion. What would you relay to young athletes or young people, right, going through this route for the sense of like grit, delayed gratification, discipline, hard work, not seeing the results yet, but I know it's going to come later if I stick with the consistency, the right things. That's what I was recommending.
Yeah.
Totally huge advocate for that. And I'm like, dude, the reason is because it's going to set you up way more differently in the future for those habit changes of, even though I don't feel great, you still did it anyway. Not to put it detrimental by any means, but you're still staying consistent. It's only going to enhance the consistency and the ability to just like push through not great days, even though you're not seeing benefits, delayed gratification, knowing it's going to send you a completely different trajectory compared to maybe other colleagues or peers that don't have those character traits forged from all these challenging times.
Yeah. And my son's getting to the age where I start to have that conversation with him. And I'm sure, your kids will be there soon. He's 9.
9? Okay.
Yeah. So he's really into soccer, right? He's like, gung ho, and he's good. He's like, I as unbiased as I can be, like he's good.
He's the best part of the team. Like,
no question. Best player in the state. But he's good. And he just started playing a year ago, but he's already, developed a lot. We've done some private lessons. Coaches like he has a lot of potential. You need to keep nurturing this. But the conversation we have is that consistency, right? And it's also, we're talking about young athletes or young professionals, even looking at it as an opportunity to just better yourself. Like you're going to learn a lot in that process of grinding and not getting instant feedback on like whether or not something's working. And it could be a year, 2 years, never that you get a return on that investment.
Right.
But if you look at it as like, hey, this is an opportunity to grow. Life's long. I can fail a few times, and hopefully next time I do a little bit better and get over that hump. Yeah. That's the approach to take. Yeah. But so often, especially in our society, it's like we want that. We're conditioned to expect instant feedback and instant gratification. Right. And it's
the social media highlight reels.
Yeah. It's tough to break out of that.
100%. Yeah. Totally. I'll battle that for sure. I was talking to my wife about that the other night. The discipline, the delayed gratification, like you were saying, totally, the consistency. And something I want to encourage my kids, and like my daughter just started the I-9 sports, and she's not 4 yet. She's 3.5. And it's just like little ducklings chasing a ball, and like, you're going the wrong way, but hey, you're having fun,
That's a great program though. It's Maddox did that too for the first like 3 or 4 years, exactly, like 4 years old to like 6 or 7. And just cause it's like, it's an hour a week. You're not there all the time. They get a mix of everything. They try out different sports and then find out what they like.
But with young athletes like that too, and a professional that I've chatted with multiple times and other professionals too, part of the, hey, it's okay to fail sometimes. You're not awesome. What would you expect to be an all-star soccer player the first day you try? Probably not, right? Or like the first time you introduce a new instrument or the piano, like whatever, like probably not going to be an expert in Mozart today,
Yeah.
But the humility to understand that and be like, I'm going to suck at the beginning, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to practice. I'm going to instill some of these habits that I know will lead to an outcome at some point. But anyway, this she was just like, a big difference is the willingness to look potentially bad in front of your peers and colleagues and whatever. And like, I suck, but the humility to do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, what's the quote? It's like, in order to be a master, you have to be willing to be a fool first.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's like that. It's like, like you're totally. And it's tough, especially if you have had some success or you've done well in school or done well in sports to like start over.
You expect to be like, why am I not awesome at this? It's frustrating.
It's frustrating, and it's an uphill battle for sure.
I had Randall Greer on here, and he was talking about a similar situation of like, if a gym sounds intimidating, looks intimidating, it's noisy, there's music, there's muscular fit individuals that are in there. It could be intimidating for someone to be like walking in, like, hey, my name's so, can I work out with you? It's intimidating, right?
Yeah.
And then the willingness to just throw your hat in the ring and just start, what message would you want to convey for people that are like in the West Palm area that want to check out HEW West Palm?
Yeah.
Like, what would you want to convey to that?
So that's kind of the reason we went with HEW instead of doing like a CrossFit. And I hate to lump them all together because they're not all the same. And a lot of CrossFit gyms do this really well. But as a brand, CrossFit's kind of focused on, at least in my opinion, well, it's in their tagline, right? Forging elite fitness. So they're focused on
aggressive
elite athlete. Yeah. And so if you look at like their hierarchy of who's important, right? You have your CrossFit Games athletes, then you have your gym owners, then you have your coaches, then you have the top athletes at that gym. They get all the attention from the coaches. Then you have everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, everybody else is 98.5% of the population. And that's kind of why we decided like, hey, if we create, we were HEW clients, we never did CrossFit, went right into HEW. But we decided like, hey, if we go that route, one, it opens us up to a much broader audience. But two, we can create an environment that people feel more comfortable coming into the gym. Like it's still intimidating. We still have people all the time. You can just tell on their face and their body language, like they're terrified. And we try to make them as comfortable as possible. But I mean, I'm 6'4", 240 pounds, like in fit shape. I get nervous going into a new gym, right? Yeah. So I can't imagine, a woman in her 40s, 3 kids, hasn't worked out in 15 years, 50 pounds overweight, like, yeah, she's going to be terrified. Yeah. So we just try to create an environment that's like really welcoming, and we recognize like, hey, this is our bread and butter. It's not the elite athlete. Like we have some great athletes in our gym, absolutely, and across the HEW community.
Right.
But it's really like focusing on people that are looking to get back into fitness or already into fitness, looking for something different, looking for a good community with good people, have fun in their workouts, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, like, social stereotypes, like they exist for a reason, right? Yeah. Like if CrossFit has this brand and awareness, like it is what it is, right? It definitely feels more gritty, it's slanging and banging, it's aggressive, it is. I think that's what they want, right? And you attract the demographic you want, you know what I mean? And then HEW's definitely seems to be a little more approachable, less intimidating in general, you know? And I know when I've talked with Randall and John Szerzewski and Steven, now the owner at HEW Wellington, and other people in multiple HEWs that have been around, there's definitely a sense of, I had a good sense of welcoming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people are like, hey, come on in, let's check, I'll do it with you, and then the owners and coaches were like, those are the elite, don't worry about them. They're good. We know they're good, but I want to help you, And something that Randall was also saying too, and I was like, I totally agree with this. If a new person were to come into a gym and it's intimidating, right? Oftentimes I'm sure the internal dialogue is probably like, you don't belong here. Like, I don't belong here. I don't look like that. What am I doing? and potentially, which is incorrect in my opinion, probably feeling senses of judgment, which is not true.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, imagine if somebody who was brand new to the gym were to walk in and approach a very fit, muscular looking woman or dude, and they were like, hey, can you help me? Like, how do I do this? I'm 100% confident that fit individual who's a gym goer, you know, would be like, awesome, let me help you.
Yeah,
dude, I'll
100%.
show you this. Let's talk about this. This is cool. Let me help you do this. You got it. Let me help you. Versus like, this isn't for you. This is for us.
Well, yeah, it's our own fears and insecurities, right?
Totally.
And yeah, it's not always based in like reality, but I even see it in myself. Like if I'm at the gym and I'm working out, but I'm not coaching, right? If I'm coaching, I'm all over people and I'm correcting them, you know, every chance I get. But if I'm not coaching, I'm almost hesitant to like go and help somebody out and correct them, because I'm like, I don't want to intrude on their workout, you know, and that's my own fear and my own stuff. Whereas like they're having the same fear about maybe coming and asking me, hey, can I have some help? It's like, I'm also like, I don't want to interrupt, you know? So it's, it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
For sure.
But anyway, if that helps anybody feel less intimidated and like more approachable, it's like, let me just try, you know, at least that could be really helpful.
Yeah. Something we do too, that's really cool. And I don't know, corporate, you know, helped us with this or what it was, but we always, the first thing we do when we bring somebody in is we introduce them and like pair them with an existing client for the warm up, so that they instantly make a friend, right? And obviously we're picking our really friendly, super bubbly clients. We want them to have a good experience, but they go do the warm up jog together, and then they, you know, they're kind of chatting. And of course the coaches are on them, making sure they're comfortable, but that connection with a non-coach and somebody that's really in the community is really huge as well.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Comfortable.
It's smart, you know, it makes them feel comfortable, hold their hand through it, you know, I'm here with you.
Exactly.
That's good. So cool. I mean, definitely a lot of synergy, connection link between the fitness thing and then also the fountain, right? Mm-hmm. Very alignable, very similar. And you said the main meat of like what y'all do and offer at the fountain, HRT, PRP, orthobiologics.
Yes, that's
to be politically
correct term. Yes.
Yeah. And then y'all do PRP microneedling.
Correct. So that's on the aesthetic sides. Yep. So there's kind of a bunch of different silos, and we're adding in a couple new things coming up, which are really cool. But our primary focus out of the gate was HRT and medical weight loss, especially with our background in fitness. Like we see it all the time. Like for the most part, somebody comes in, they're exercising regularly, they're eating well, they're going to get results. But sometimes, you know, they'll get to a certain point and they're just stuck. And we get them on, you know, we're hammering their nutrition, we're really dialing it in, and they just can't break through this plateau they're at.
That's where the medical weight loss comes in.
A lot of time, well, not even medical weight loss. A lot of times it's hormones. So medical weight loss is appropriate for somebody who's really has a lot of weight to lose, and needs to do it, you know, sooner rather than later, because they're at risk for, you know, other complications from being overweight. But the hormone therapy is really appropriate for those people that are kind of just, their hormones are out of balance. They're stuck, right? They're fatigued all the time. They're not recovering well from workouts. They can't break through that last plateau and get down to, you know, their ideal body, you know, body composition. And that's kind of where that comes in. So for us, you know, again, having dealt with it myself, had low testosterone at 30 years old, and just seeing the improvement in quality of my life and starting that, I was like, this is something that we got to share with people, right? And it's blowing up. Like there are a ton of clinics, you know, here in South Florida. Obviously, everybody's very concerned with how they look and how they feel. Right. So it's a great area for it. But it's a really cool modality, and it's progressive, and it's kind of out of that main vein of, you know, traditional healthcare, which is becoming exposed a little bit, it feels like, in my opinion.
Western medicine?
Yeah.
100%.
100%. Like everybody's kind of open their eyes up. They're like, wait, this is not it. You know, there's something wrong here. And I forget I'm blanking on his name, but he was doing one of those 10X talks, and he's like, you know, the third leading.
Grant Cardone?
No, it wasn't Grant Cardone. Okay. It was the guy that runs his 10X Health.
Okay.
He's saying the third leading cause of death in the United States is like medical malpractice. It's like, that's insane that our medical system that's supposed to be helping us, you know, look and feel our best is actually what's killing us at the third highest rate. So
I have some opinions on that. I feel like the system is definitely not set up for success for the practitioners. They're not bad people, in my opinion. They're just not set up for success the right way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, insurance runs the world. Mm-hmm. It is like, that's the fact. Like health insurance runs the world. Big Farm is a little brother still, or a little sister to insurance companies. Like they're still under their control.
There seems to be a partnership there somehow.
Oh, 100%. No, there's definitely a partnership. They feed each other totally, and they're in the same game. But anyway, that being said, in order to fill and suffice the necessary things to get reimbursed for health insurance, the docs have to do certain things, and spending time or just like listening, or not making decisions haphazardly just for the sake of speedy timing of the day isn't going to set up the best decisions for people, in my opinion.
100%.
And then what they're suggesting is usually medicine, right? Like meds or injections or whatever, which are super helpful and necessary. And sometimes is it overprescribed or who knows, right? That's where the argument comes in, right? I don't think a pill or medicine is necessary for everything, right? And you can consult with your docs and multiple opinions totally. But they're not in it to create solutions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're in it to create customers and recurring customers.
Yep.
Some I saw recently, or was reading recently, they're like the big farm, like they're an ascending chart of profit. You know what I mean? And same thing with health insurance.
Yeah.
They're an ascending right-leaning chart, like of profit margins that has increased year by year by billions of dollars. It's like you can only do that unless you get more medications and subscribers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, they're not in it to create solutions. They're in it to create recurring customers.
And if people were getting healthier,
it's dependency.
If the U.S. population was getting healthier, that'd be great. I think everybody'd be for it, but they're not.
Yeah.
They were kind of going in the opposite direction, unfortunately.
Yeah, totally. But anyway, so no, I totally agree. It's like there seems to be a lot more awakening of like, is there a different route for this?
Yeah.
Is this really the right route to fix whatever issues going? Is there another option? You know what I mean?
The cool thing is it's becoming more accessible, right? Like it used to be kind of only the ultra wealthy that would have access to a lot of this progressive medicine, stem cell, exosomes, orthobiologics, hormone therapy, peptides, et cetera. And now that, it's becoming a little bit more mainstream, average Joes like you and me, we can afford it. We can participate in it and take care of our health long-term without, financially crushing ourselves in the process.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So HRT, hormone replacement therapy.
Correct.
I would imagine, right, the understanding off the top of the bat for a layman would be like, we're just going to inject a bunch of testosterone in everybody. Right?
Yeah.
So explain more HRT for individual people, cases that you guys have.
The most people that are uneducated are like, oh, steroids, you mean? I'm like, that. Not steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't want to get acne. What do you mean?
So for men, it's really simple. For men, we look at, there's obviously a bunch of markers, but the two primary drivers for men are testosterone and growth hormone.
Okay.
As we age, right, those levels start declining. So our goal is to, if you think back, let me take a step back. If you think back to like early to mid 20s, right, ton of energy, sleep like a rock, great sex drive, build muscle. You go to the gym for 2 weeks, you're like, oh, I see a difference. I'm starting to build some muscle. Eat clean for 2 weeks, you're starting to lean out.
Yeah.
Right. And as we age, all that kind of goes by the wayside. We start sleeping, we have poor quality of sleep, gain a little weight, can't build muscle. We're getting a poor return on our investment into fitness and nutrition, et cetera, et cetera. So our goal is to put the body back in an environment that it was early to mid 20s, which means getting testosterone and growth hormone up into the upper end of the normal range. We don't want to blow it out of the top end of the range because of course that's unhealthy and that's where you start to get side effects. But for men, that's really the objective. Women are a little bit trickier because their menstrual cycles, right? Their testosterone, estrogen, progesterone are constantly in fluctuation depending upon where they are in their menstrual cycle. So for them, it's more about balance, right? And finding out like, hey, is estrogen too high, testosterone and progesterone too low? And then based on if they're pre, peri, post-menopausal, prescribing medication, and sometimes having to do like, okay, days X through X of your cycle, you have to take this medication, which can be cumbersome, but at the same time, it's super effective.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of the approach with HRT for men and women.
Gotcha. So for women, it's like the mediating the roller coaster and then dosing things appropriately in and out to keep it more steady in homeostasis.
Yep.
And then for dudes, as they decline with HGH hormone, growth hormone and testosterone,
Correct,
keeping it elevated, which is going to help improve all facets of their physical life. Existence. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's wild with the growth hormone, addition to testosterone therapy. You're really covering a lot of bases, which is really cool. I started off just doing testosterone therapy myself, was feeling great. did it for about 3 years. And it's like, well, how can I feel better? Right. I feel good. I want to feel even better. Like, is there something else I can do? So my initial thought was do more testosterone. That is not the solution. I started having side effects, started not feeling great. So I was like, all right, let's back that down. But growth hormone was the next, peptides for growth hormone release was the next place that I looked. And it's kind of like doubling down on hormone therapy, but keeping your levels in a safe range in both areas. So you're kind of doubling the benefits, but not necessarily setting yourself up for risk of side effects.
Blowing it out of the water, like you said.
Exactly.
But be moderate with it.
Yeah.
So HG, like, are you suggesting HGH, or is it like the peptides to stimulate?
The peptides are the way to go. Yeah. Okay. So before peptides, and I literally made a post about this morning, before peptides really gained popularity, if you wanted to increase your growth hormone, you had to take growth hormone, which, sounds great. But even if you're microdosing it, it works in a negative feedback loop. So as you're injecting growth hormone into your body recognizes like, hey, I have higher growth hormone levels. Pituitary glands stop releasing as much growth hormone. We're good.
Pituitary, you can stop.
So you become dependent on that medication. With peptides, they're signaling your pituitary gland to release more growth hormone. And over time, you're actually training your pituitary gland to do that.
To work at a different higher threshold.
Yeah. So if you stop taking peptides for an extended period of time, call it, varies person to person, 9, 12, 18 months, your growth hormone levels will be elevated because your pituitary gland is still trained to do that. Now, eventually it'll drift back down, but if you're doing growth hormone, you would start off like the second you stopped, your levels are low, and like maybe they kind of gradually build back up, but they probably won't ever get back to where they were before you started. Whereas with peptide therapy, you're going to be at a higher level. If you stop, you're going to gradually drift back down. But
is that the same effect with the testosterone therapy for the testes in males?
Yes. So testosterone therapy, it's important that it's done right. And we've had a lot of people come in that it's not being done right. They'll go to, a general physician or go to their primary care physician who doesn't necessarily specialize in this stuff. And they're like, oh, your blood work's showing your testosterone's low. Here's testosterone. And it's like, that's great. But again, you're making them dependent on the testosterone because we're not accounting for the entire feedback loop.
Yeah. So then the organs themselves decrease their output and gotcha.
Yeah. So the solution is doing something like an enclomiphene, a clomid, HCG, gonadorelin that stimulates your natural production of luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, which causes sperm production and testosterone production in the testes, prevents shrinkage as well, which is important. And then taking an anastrozole or a Remedex, which keeps your estrogen down. So as you increase testosterone, your body wants to balance it with increased estrogen. Some estrogen in males is good, but too much is not good.
Yeah. You get man boobs. Right?
Man boobs. Yeah. Man boobs, moodiness. That's really actually where most of the side effects come from is increased estrogen, actually, not
so do you layer in a SERM with that then, a selective estrogen receptor modulator, which is for like bros, gym rats that do steroids or super increased testosterone levels, they have to take a SERM at the same time, or a tail end of their cycle, right? Would that be necessary? Like, how do you regulate the estrogen?
So that's through a medication called anastrozole.
Okay.
So it's just an estrogen suppressant.
Got it.
Yeah, so it just keeps the levels down, and you do that once a week. It's pretty simple.
And then how long would somebody expect to notice results? And then how long would they expect to need to stay on it?
Yeah, so testosterone therapy, results come pretty quick. You start to notice a difference in energy in the first couple weeks, physically in the first 4 to 6 weeks. And then from there, the benefits kind of compound, as you go up. And the way I like to position it, because it took me a long time to kind of recognize this, it's really a shifting of the tides. If you think about as we age, our levels are going down gradually. We're losing motivation, losing energy levels. We're not getting as good of a return on our investment into fitness and nutrition. So we continue to lack in motivation because the returns.
It's like, why am I doing this? Sucks. It's not working.
My body's not responding. I'm losing motivation. I'm more tired. And it gets worse and worse as we get older. But adding in hormone replacement therapy, whether it's testosterone therapy or peptide therapy, kind of shifts the tides to where it's now an upward spiral, right? You're going to get more energy right out of the gate within the first few weeks, which helps you get to the gym more. You're also going to get a better return on that investment of fitness and nutrition. So now you're more motivated to keep doing it, right? And that kind of continues. You start to see more results, start to have more energy because you're working out more. Yeah. And so it kind of just turns the momentum around. But to answer your question, Yeah, a few weeks to really start noticing some results. I'd say 3 months is really like when you're going to say, okay, for testosterone therapy, this we're going to really start seeing the full effects of this. For peptide therapy, it takes a little bit longer. Some of the effects you see right out of the gate: better quality of sleep. You're going to notice better recovery from workouts in like 4 to 6 weeks. Hair, skin, and nail quality, gut health in like 2 to 3 months. The physical benefits, though, of like burning fat, building muscle, is usually about a 4 to 6 month before you start seeing those results, just the way that it acts in the body.
Included with like an improved nutritional habit and also fitness habit at the same time.
And that'll accelerate either one. And I tell everybody, this is not a magic pill.
Yeah.
You can't do hormone therapy and not work out and eat like crap and expect to have results. But if they didn't change a thing, they would see a difference.
Gotcha.
But they wouldn't necessarily get to where they want to be.
Gotcha.
But as far as doing it, how long do they do it for? You can do it indefinitely. So if it's done properly, testosterone therapy and peptide therapy, you can do indefinitely because you're accounting for the entire feedback loop. So everything's kind of functioning in harmony. It's really about optimization and harmony, not necessarily like somebody doing a steroid cycle, just blowing it out of the water. We want to get it, as big as possible and all that.
Yeah.
It's not what we're after.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then if somebody does want to wean off, how long until they can start weaning off?
So they can start weaning off whenever. Again, if it's done properly, peptides are really easy. Again, because it's a natural stimulation of the pituitary gland. You could stop that cold turkey, and again, your levels are going to gradually drift back down, but you're not going to be any worse for the wear. Eventually, you'll get back to where you were before you started, which wasn't ideal, but you're not going to set yourself up for failure. Testosterone therapy, again, if you're managing that feedback loop with the injections, the supplementary testosterone, and the estrogen blocker, you can stop that as well. Usually we encourage hey, it's all probabilities, right? Everybody's body reacts a little bit differently. We encourage doing a post-cycle therapy, effectively if somebody who's doing steroids, doing the same thing just to stimulate your natural production. But it actually is a combination of HCG, which is one of the medications we prescribe with testosterone therapy, and peptide therapy. So that just, again, gets the follicle stimulating and luteinizing hormones going again. And then, again, they're back to where they were.
Cool.
Most people, though, don't want to stop. They feel good. It's something you can do indefinitely and do safely. And so they're like, hey, let's just keep continuing with it. And I've been doing it for 7 years. I don't intend on stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's good to hear that it's safe and it's not going to ruin your hormone system. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah.
Pituitary gland, testes, all those because it's so intricate. You know what I mean? They all communicate. These levels are low, so we kick this up, or this is bad. They kick this up, and they work together.
Yeah.
It's super intricate. So it's good. It's safe.
And you got to monitor blood work too. Like we do. So initial blood work 6 weeks out, and then every 6 months. I mean, you've got to check in on those things because stuff can change. Your body can react to medication one way. Year 1, year 2, it may be a little bit differently. So you've got to be continuous on getting the blood work done, checking it, monitoring levels, and making sure that everything's working properly.
Yeah. So for medical weight loss includes all that together.
So medical weight loss is kind of a adjunct, I guess would be the best word, of hormone replacement therapy. So the medical weight loss medications are a peptide, but they're a GLP-1. They're not like a GHRP, which is a growth hormone releasing peptide.
Okay.
So their function is actually developed for type 2 diabetes, super effective in helping getting their A1C down, which is a marker of diabetes or blood sugar over the last 3 months. So it helps get their blood sugar down, but it also, as a unintended side effect, which helps, it helps to curb cravings. It helps to reduce portion sizes. So it slows down the digestion process to where you feel fuller longer. So people that are overeating, right? That's usually how people get there in the first place, right? They're eating junk and they're eating too much of it. The cravings are reduced, right? They're no longer craving the chips or the cookies or even the alcohol, which is really cool.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool. Like I've had multiple people I don't want to drink anymore. Like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We're happy to hear
win,
that.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's a win.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then their portion sizes get smaller. So we of course coach them through it. Like, hey, you could just take the medication, you change nothing else, you're gonna lose the weight. But this is an opportunity for you to establish good habits because you don't have the cravings. Your portion sizes are gonna be smaller. Like you can't take this drug forever. But if you do this wrong, you just take the medication, keep eating crap, you'll lose the weight because you're going to eat less of the crap. But when you stop taking the medication and your appetite comes back,
You're going to root back to the same habits.
you're going to gain it all right back.
Yeah.
So we kind of coach our clients through on like how to do it properly. And taking the right amount of medication is important too. Like some clinics you'll go to, they're like, hey, just follow this standardized schedule. Every 4 weeks you go up. And in some cases that's appropriate. But a lot of times, there are some negative side effects associated with these medications. Just so happens those negative side effects are the same side effects somebody would have if they were struggling with anorexia. They're not eating, gaunt look, muscle wasting, killing their metabolism, etc. It's like, okay, so we know that we need to take enough of this medication for it to be effective, but you can't take so much that you're just not eating. Because again, you'll lose weight, but all those negative side effects come with it. You're killing metabolism. The second you stop taking that medication, your appetite comes back, your metabolism in the dumps, you're storing everything you're eating, weight comes right back. So coaching them through it, how to do is really important.
Yeah. Is this Ozempic? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, those are the brand names. The chemical names are the two popular ones are semaglutide and tirzepatide.
Semaglutide. Yep. I had a patient that came in dabbling in semaglutide. And he was having...
I've never heard of somebody dabbling in semaglutide before.
This individual was having a lot of muscle spasms.
Interesting.
And pain, and I was like, well, let's link this together. Like, what did you change anything? I never met the guy, right? Like, dude came in and was just checking him out. He's had really bad hip pain. And anyway, what's changed? Why all of a sudden is this hip pain coming about? Did you do a bunch of box jumps and squats or something? Like, did you sprint or like, are you increasing your activities in some things? Like, what caused this issue? And he was like, I'm not really doing anything different. And then he was saying that he was been trying this weight loss route, and I think it was just too much dose of semaglutide.
Was he just not eating, not drinking water?
I'm not sure. It could have been dehydration for sure too, or just lack of just malnutrition. But have you noticed that in some of the studies or other clients have come to you guys from other places that side effects with semaglutide?
So we haven't had a ton that have come in because fortunately, I'd say, I don't want to say most, but a good portion of healthcare clinics that are doing medical weight loss are doing it properly. But occasionally we will, if people come in, they're like, they'll hear the side effects, right? They'll hear of this muscle wasting and gaunt look. They're like, I don't want to look like a skeleton. It's like, all right, we got to keep eating. Same thing we tell our gym clients. It's like, guys, you can't lose weight sustainably for a long time just by starving yourself.
Right.
Like, yes, you will lose weight, but it's not healthy, terrible on the body. And the second you start eating, either you got to starve yourself for the rest of your life, or the second you start eating, you're going to gain it back. And so you're going to be this yo-yo of weight.
Yeah, totally.
So we encourage them, like, do it right.
I remember in college, later years, I was taking a nutrition class, right? I was a biology major, and we dabbled in some nutrition classes stuff, which is really cool. It's more of a hobby, right? Like nutrition is like a hobby for me. I think it's really interesting and cool. It's not what I do, but it's like for my own personal health and suggestions to people,
Yeah.
But anyway, I was asking this our professor, and I was like, what like weight loss? What if you just like worked out deprived of food? Then wouldn't you just like immediately go into your fat storage and just like work off your fat faster, like working out bonked, they're like the term bonked, like you were like hungry, and like kind of lightheaded, I get really lightheaded if I don't eat enough.
Yeah.
And she's like, definitely not a great idea. It's not safe. And anyway, she was describing like your body for that moment of physical exertion is going to start grabbing anything they can for energy. And the glycogen stores in your muscle tissue is the first thing that goes.
Goes for the muscle. Yeah.
And then it goes for the muscle tissue itself. So you're literally like eating your own muscle tissue to have the energy to work out. So you're not going to get like the support you need for muscle growth, but they're also not going to dive into your fat storage anyway.
Yeah. I wish I knew that. I wish I'd known that earlier, because I was always into like, you go to the gym early in the morning, fasted workout, right?
Yeah.
I'm burning fat.
Fasted workout. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm like, I was kind of stuck for a while. I'm like, I'm not really burning any fat, right? I'm not any leaner. I'm not any bigger. I feel like I'm kind of going the opposite direction. And then I saw that exact, it was an article or a post somewhere. It's like, you got to have some nutrition to burn through. Yeah. Otherwise it's eating your muscle, and that's not good.
It's a stalemate. But anyway, I was like, oh, well, there you go. Makes sense. Cool. Won't do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, so explain orthobiologics.
So orthobiologics, it's really the area of regenerative medicine that focuses on joint repair. So there's I've been at this for a few years and researching the hell out of it, and I'm barely scratching the surface. I met with a guy up in Jupiter. His son had leukemia. He was treated with stem cells and cured of leukemia with stem cells. Like, so there's so many applications for it, right? And that's one of the only approved treatments in the US. It has to be through certain hospitals, but it's like there's so many applications for it. You can do it from an anti-aging perspective via IV infusion, just to go in, and the stem cells are cool because they seek out and heal right inside of your body. Like
what's needed. Yeah.
What's needed. Yeah. So from gut, organs, joints, soft tissue, et cetera. But the thing we're kind of getting into that I'm really excited about is more the joint injections, right? So I'm somebody, played sports, exercise a ton, like have a ton of knee, hip, shoulder, spine issues that just kind of come with being a tall, big human and being active.
Playing sports and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So been through surgery, had some success, had some that weren't successful. And through exosomes, right? It's like you're able to get this healing that didn't exist otherwise. Like those are really good. The orthobiologics, exosomes, Wharton's jelly, et cetera, are really good for chondral defects. So cartilage. Yeah. So bone on bone joints that are, knees, really knees and shoulders are like the optimal. Spine, there's not really a lot of good applications for it. Like you think about what it's going and doing. If it's healing damaged tissue, right, in the knee, you're going, it's repairing cartilage and helping build cartilage back. But you're trying to do the same thing for a bulging disc. It's not going to suck the disc back into the vertebral column, right? Like it's not going to do that. So there's certain applications for it, but long story short, there's a lot of different applications for it. Like there's 100 directions you can go with it. We're really focused on the anti-aging. So doing it via IV drip for anti-aging purposes, holistic healing, and then joint injections for orthopedic issues.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's the exosomes versus stem cells?
So exosomes are more of, again, a signaling agent, which seems to be kind of where everything's trending, right? Instead of taking this thing that's doing the repair or making you look and feel better and just putting it in your body, let's recruit your body to do the work for you. So putting exosomes into your knee, for example, is going to recruit your own stem cells to go in there and start getting to work and repairing it. It also provides some structure so that once the new cells are built for, let's say, cartilage in your knee, the second you step on them, they're not just going to dissipate and go wherever.
Right. Gotcha.
That's kind of how they work.
I've talked at length about something that was exposed to me like a grad school was really cool, where bone on bone, right? I hear that because as a sports physical therapist, orthopedics, like we see orthopedic musculoskeletal injuries. That's what we do.
That's what you do, yeah.
So we hear patients come in or defeated or hopeless. I'm like, I got bone on bone, and so I'm effed, and I'm like, that might not be true, right? There's some studies that have exposed with repetitive exercise and resistance training, which causes compression for your joints, which is necessary. It stimulates synovial fluid recruitment and production, which is the nutrients for your joint, your cartilage, which imbibes in the cartilage because they have no blood supply, right? Yeah. So they're aneural and avascular. So it's like the healing potential is absent, right, for cartilage. So it's like, all right, well then it's a degenerative, progressively worsening situation that can't get better. Like once it reaches a level, it can't go up any better, right? Well, apparently it might not be true, right? Where like progressive resistance exercises, it doesn't cause pain or inflammation or irritation. The body's going to adapt, right? It's going to stimulate more synovial fluid production, but then also what I think they're suggesting is finding in the research is growth of cartilage from the subchondral bone up. So imagine if you so what they've done is they've done studies with people where they take like an MRI if someone's bone on bone in their knee.
Sure.
Arthritic changes happen over many, many years. And then they do exercise routines and physical therapy and stuff for a year, right? 8 months minimum, pre and post MRI. Like, what's your cartilage look like now, right? Or exercise, we would imagine it's probably more broken down, right? It's worn out more. And actually it's the opposite.
Wow.
They find that the cartilage is thicker, more brilliant and vibrant. Brilliant and vibrant apparently are like the adjectives they would use for cartilage livelihood, right? Vibrancy. And it's thicker and less brittle. Versus control groups like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to hurt my joints. They're actually more brittle and thinner cartilage than it was prior.
Interesting.
So it's like the thought of being like, well, you can run and exercise and lift weights and squat and lunge, but there's a life shelf to your joints. And the more that you do, the quicker you're going to break things down. So it's a give and take, and like you want to look good or not and muscular, but you're going to break things down and it's making it worse. Actually, it might not be true.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is great, right?
Which is honestly, until I'm having this conversation, that was kind of my mindset. Was
oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, I was like, hey, like if you know, I'm going to wear through that cartilage. It's a layer of cartilage. Like I'm just gradually grinding through it as the years goes on. If I'm not moving 100% properly. So now that it's ground through at some points, like that's it.
That's new baseline. And then from there, you can keep working if you want to. Like it's like, what do you want? You know, do you want to like, so if that's the case, then like don't exercise. Let's just live in let's live in like floating swimming pools then, and like not load our joints, and then we'll preserve our joints as long as possible. It's actually not true. I'll send you all these articles.
Yeah, please do. That's awesome.
It's really interesting. So anyway, with that being said, I'm like, dude, the key is to stay active, and if you don't use it, you lose it, which is totally true. But it can be regained again. So it's not like it's too late. But it seems like an appropriate level of compression on purpose for your joints, which is resistance training, gravity training, right? Like weights, right? Appropriately. They're not going to cause pain or irritation and more inflammation that would break things down for sure. That's actually going to build and fortify cartilage growing from the subchondral bone going up, because that's where the blood supply is, and it's going to feed it in up from down to up. And the synovial fluid that gets built, and then imbibing nutrients from the synovial fluid from the top down. And it's a double benefit. And then over several months, like a year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of like, okay, I worked out for a month as my cartilage back. It's like, dude, it's going to take a little time because this is a long process. But doing that over a period of a year where it's like, I actually feel good.
Oh yeah.
We do this all the time with our patients where they have bone-on-bone knees or shoulders or low back and it always hurts.
Yeah.
It's like we can do these exercises, right? Joint mobility stuff and some exercise. And like they leave and like, I actually feel better than when I came in.
Yeah.
It's like, what if we apply that mindset and that result every time that you come in over multiple weeks, right? Where you feel better every single time. Like it would be unreasonable to think that in 3 months you wouldn't feel significantly better. Keep that same trajectory for a year. That's where you see the cartilage results.
Absolutely. It's funny. I didn't know what to attribute the science to until, again, we're having this conversation, but I can think of periods where my shoulder was really flared up and like, I couldn't do anything. And I finally like forced myself, like, hey, just go back to, you know, doing super light weights and just get it moving, and gradually over time, without any surgical intervention, like it started feeling better.
Right.
Same thing with my knee. Like obviously there's certain things I can't go and, you know, try to lift as much weight as possible overhead or, you know, do a lot of impact on my knee, but like within reason, it's like a certain level of activity makes it feel better. Yeah. Which is awesome.
So 100% totally agree with that. And that's what we do and advocate for. And then on top of that, we'd be like, in the meantime, well, if your shoulder is hurting, right, there's a reason. Things don't hurt for no reason. We can identify some compensation issues and what the angry tissue, that's people usually want to know is like, what's the angry tissue? What's hurting, right? Yeah. Oh, it's probably this rotator cuff tendon or this bicep, you know, your biceps tendon, whatever. The capsule plays a role. Yep. That's what hurts. But why though? Right. It's probably because it's overcompensating for something else. And the altered mechanics cause the compensations and get those things lit up. Those structures are getting lit up. Yeah. Right. So we can work on these compensation issues and joint mobility compensations and muscle recruitment activation compensations, and then work out on top of that and then progress appropriately through that. So it's like you're fixing the compensations that led to in the first place, and also building and fortifying the joint and the tissues and all those things without effing up in the meantime. Here's where people get in trouble though. People like us, you're right there. It's like, F it. I'm just frustrated. I want to do what I want. Right. And then they just do it anyway, and they power through, and then they just like light stuff up again. And they take like 5 steps back. It's like, well, can't do it. I'm effed. You know?
Well, it goes back to that consistency and compliance, you know, conversation.
Delayed gratification.
We have clients at the gym all the time, and I was guilty of it for years. And it was like, you know, it's kind of built into us when we're playing sports. This kid, right? Fight through the pain, right?
No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. Push through it. And you know, if clients like, oh, well, you know, my shoulder, they'll tell me, you know, a week before, a couple weeks, like, oh, I've been having shoulder issues. And then I see them the next week, they're doing, you know, like push press or something overhead. I'm like, hey, what happened? They're like, oh, I really want to do it. I'm like, guys, like being fit is about being able to work out consistently. Right. If you are injured, you can't work out. So let's work around this for a couple weeks. Let
Right.
the inflammation go down. Go see Kyle. Like you got to get worked out, and then we'll get you back doing push press again. You know
that. And for me personally too, same boat. You know, be like, oh, I'm gonna F it. I'm gonna do it anyway, and then it would just light up. You know, and part of that was because like my self identity and value was placed on like, what's my bench max? Or my squat max. If I'm weaker, then therefore I'm like less of a man. I'm not as valuable as a person.
What's your bench, bro?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing now? It's like, I'm not, I don't even care.
I still get asked that question all the time. Like I haven't maxed out on bench in 15 years, man. I have no idea.
Like, why are you concerned?
It's not.
I'm like, why would you be concerned about that? That's probably the better question. You know what I mean?
And people start to realize as they get older, it's all about looks anyways, right? Like it's obviously being healthy, but like your performance from a, how much weight can you lift? Like I see guys at the gym that are just absolute monsters, and they'll never pick up more than like a 30-pound dumbbell.
Yeah, totally.
They have 135 on the bench, just cranking them out. Like, this guy looks phenomenal.
I respect that. Yeah, for sure. But anyway, so I had to like redefine what that definition of working out was and production. You know, it's like, well, I messed around. I didn't actually work out because I didn't do power clean, squat, deadlift, and bench. You know, and I'm also like way weaker in those things too. So like it didn't really count. You know. So I had to like redefine what I consider to be a workout, and then also like aligning with like, well, what do I really want? And what you just said, that's what we see a lot of our patients. So I'm like, dude, I get it. Right? I know exactly what you're talking about. I just don't want to hurt anymore. Number one. Yeah. I just don't want to hurt, so that I can like just get up and go to Publix or play with my kids in the front yard, go for a run if I want to. I just don't want to hurt anymore.
Having kids is the best thing in the world, man. They just like bring you back down to earth. It's no longer about you. And same thing. Like before kids, it's like you want to be just this paragon of fitness, right? And like it's push through whatever pain you got. And you're like, wait a second, I can't run around the yard with my kid. Yeah. Like we need to change something here.
Yeah, totally.
Really cool.
And I was talking about this before with somebody, like there's this, I've got to be careful what you say on Instagram, of course. Some things I really like and I engage with, like it's cool and I take for motivation and I seek out legitimacy behind some of these things. But anyway, there's this dude, he's this guy, he's in his garage working out. Like, okay, here's another garage workout, post. And it was him front squatting like 95 pounds. Yeah. And he's like, I don't want to do any more than that. Like he looked fit. He looked good. Yeah. He's like, I feel good. And like, I don't want to hurt at the expense of just like getting my PR up, which you could probably progressively get more into that. But it's like, but my values, my goals are set somewhere else. Cause like I want to be able to play with my kids and like, I'm not concerned about the size of my quads or my front squat max. Yeah. That's not the goal. My goal is to like, I want to be good, healthy and legit and like fit, but be able to like do X, Y, and Z with my kids, my family, and all this stuff, and not be in pain. I was like, I love that. I high five. That's me. I've like in that moment, I was like, I've decided that's me.
Yeah. And my wife Talia, is an absolute beast in the gym, but she has the approach of like always check your ego at the door, right? And that's something that the HEW culture is big on. And it's just like you don't. That's the downfall for all of us, right? It's like having to perform a certain way, having to PR, having to look a certain way. And she's always taken the mindset of like, hey, I know what I can do. I know what I can't do. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. And it's ultimately why she is such a phenomenal athlete and performs so well in the workouts, but also is healthy at the same time. Like for the amount now of physical exercise and the intensity and that she does it at, that her body is still like in such great shape, like joint wise, like obviously physically she's in great shape, but I'm saying like from an orthopedic standpoint, like tissue and all that stuff. It's incredible, but it's because she listens to her body. She knows like, hey, this is what's important. I want to look good. I want to feel good. I want to be active with my kids. And she nails all three of those.
And that could be achieved without maxing out every day.
Yeah. 100%.
But anyway, I was thinking about that and I was like, with the cartilage thing and the orthobiologics for the correct term, combining the two would be a huge benefit. Yeah. And you're talking about like the synergy and the link between like, this would be a great adjunct to the orthopedic treatments. You know what I mean?
No, it's great. It's great in the chiropractic and physical therapy space as well. There's actually some protocols, for, it's like anything, the upside of orthobiologics is there's no pain, right? There's downtime, but there's not that crazy inflammation and bracing and all that stuff. You can do bracing if you want to be really, over the top about it. But there is time you got to take off, right? There's downtime. Like you can't go in, and I think it was on the Joe Rogan podcast, he's talking about getting his knee done, right, with stem cells. Like you can't go back. The first time he did it, he went back and started, kicking the bag for martial arts like a week later, and it didn't work. And he called the doctor, hey, it didn't work. He's like, well, what'd you do? He's like, yeah, I was active on it. So he did it again, took 6 weeks of like, you can walk around on it, but you can't be super active. And then he started a physical therapy regimen afterwards, had great results, right? And so it's a combination of the two, like anything, right? It's the same thing with surgery. After surgery, you got to go to physical therapy. Otherwise, your results are going to be severely diminished.
So it's interesting. I didn't know that. Like, what's the expectation then doing orthobiologics like this or exosomes is we have to be light on our feet for 6 weeks.
Yeah. So ideally, I mean, if you really can, taking 4 to 6 weeks of non-weight bearing would probably be ideal. But understanding that's pretty hard to do and unrealistic, you can walk, right? But you shouldn't be doing any impact. Shouldn't be kicking a weight bag.
Okay.
And then for shoulders, same thing. It's like normal kind of day-to-day activity. And the shoulders tend to have better outcomes. Like the success rate's really high, but shoulders are even higher because they're not load bearing, right? So that indicates like, hey, for 4 to 6 weeks, while the structure is being set up in there, the stem cells that you've recruited with the exosomes are doing their thing, you're allowing it to really heal and the structure to take place and to adhere. Because if you're going out and starting to, back squat 300 pounds next week, like everything in your knees that's in there is just going to ground to dust, and it's who knows where now in your body.
Yeah. Understood. That's interesting. That's a good point to make.
Yeah.
Just for the expectations going into it.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, I think, the last one, PRP. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned PRP microneedling.
Yeah.
That's aesthetics.
So that's on the aesthetic sides. Yeah. So the microneedling is literally, it's like a pen, and it has a little needle that goes in and out. You numb the face first so you don't feel it. You can do just microneedling, which does micropunctures into the skin, promotes collagen, elastin, helps with, skin quality. Like I'm going to do it for, I have some, sunspots here that like helps clear out sunspots. But if you can add in exosomes, you can add in PRP, which is just going to help with the overall radiance of your skin, which is really cool.
Gotcha.
So it's interesting. Like it wasn't intentional. We got into it, but we're using regenerative medicine on the ortho side and on the aesthetic side, but they're both super effective and have great outcomes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Facial aesthetics was never anything on my
It honestly wasn't on mine, and I hadn't had a facial until we opened our clinic, and I did my first one. I was like, oh, there's a reason why women go and get these done all the time, because my skin was like instantly better, and cool. I've been keeping up with
it. You're glowing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I just
a little spot A.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's funny, man. Well, dude, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing more about this stuff and coming in. I know you're a busy dude. I
appreciate you having me, man.
Totally. If people want to reach out, what's the best way they can hit you up?
So we're on Instagram at The Fountain WPB, like West Palm Beach, and then they could email hello@thefountainwpb.com. Or give us a call, 561-320-3142.
Cool. Simple.
Yep.
Awesome.
Easy.
And if y'all have any questions for us, if you're battling issues or pain, or know anybody that's battling pain, we'd love to help you guys. At least you can reach out and we can chat on the phone. And if you have any conflicting opinions, suggestions, comments about podcast topics, whatever, we're always open to suggestions and a commentary. But the best way to reach out to us is our phone number at 561-899-8725 or our email at team@athleterc.com. So definitely reach out. We're always open to stuff. Thanks again for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We'll catch y'all next time.